Hey everyone, so for today's video it's going to be a little bit different. Normally I do unboxings of stuff from Japan, but today we're going to do an install on a radio harness for the sake of running mini discs. So if you could see over here, I have 4 head units here, and these are all Japanese units from Japan. It's the Honda accessory Gathers brand. And the reason I want to use these is because they're actually pretty cool. They have mini disc, CD, for the units with a display. They have DVD capability, just a nicer graphic user interface. So what came on the car when I purchased this is a track car, was this Pioneer unit. If you can see here, not the greatest unit. Obviously it's pretty dusty from lack of attention, but whoever did the install prior hardwired it directly to the vehicle, and when I purchased it, it actually wasn't working. Not sure why, but I went through some of the wiring the other day and realized that there doesn't seem to be much wrong with it. So the head unit does turn on, and let me see if I could show you. Plug in the radio. Oh, here. So you can see, sort of, English. See if I could turn something on radio. Okay, yeah, so there is sound. Not the greatest sound, but it works. Okay, so that was the radio. So anyways, I don't want to use this unit. It has no mini disc, so there's not much value to me and this channel. So I'm gonna put those in, but Honda went through 3 generations of harnesses from factory. So what I did was I used these, and basically this typically belongs on the car side, which will plug in to those units over here. So from the 90s they primarily used this harness, and then starting from 99 they started using this harness up until roughly 2000, I'd like to say 2007 or so, at which point they changed to this one. So this one works, I believe, with this. Oh, this is heavy. Yeah. So you can see that this one fits here. Okay. But the other 2 units down there use this harness, and I'm not too sure about that one. I can't reach it right now, but I think it's either going to use one of these 2. And then this one would be for the older Gathers units, and they usually came in, 2 sets, so 2 single DIN units, or sometimes a single DIN and a pocket. So anyways, since I'm only going to be using 1 unit at a time, I decided to wire this up so I can run any generation of Honda OEM head unit. And obviously, with wire adapters, I can run aftermarket head units as well. So, I have an Alpine here, and then I also have some other Panasonic units, and I could just, attach the device harness to an adapter harness, which will plug into the factory harness. So that's what I'll be running for now, and I'm just going to do the install with you guys. So if you want, fast forward to the end, or watch along. Alright, so the tools for today, wire strippers, wire cutters. This is like a little lighter just for the for the heat shrink. So I got the heat shrink over here. Soldering iron. I don't have the small one. That one broke on me recently. I do have some rosin flux, soldering paste, and just some Johnson solder. I really like this stuff, so this is pretty good. I have a battery to test the speakers, just to double check connection. So I'll be doing that as I go along. That's sorry for the mess. And I have a Fluke multimeter, which I'll be using to test and verify that the connections are correct. But we just verified with the original unit, so everything should be fine. Okay. All right, let's get started. So let's start taking this apart. And I'm not sure why this is wired to an accessory. Green wire is grounded for brake. So anyways, I'll just start with the grounds. You know, sometimes when I'm installing audio into stereos that had previously been installed on or worked on, it's really interesting to see what methods these people had gone through to get things working. Like, there was no need to cut the original harness off. I'm just gonna throw this here for now. So what is going on here? Why is there so much tape? Oh, and as for tape, where's my roll of tape? I'll be using 3M Super 33. It's my favorite tape. Really stretchy, really strong. It's good stuff. Alright, so let's take this off. And what is this ugly ground? Look at this. So they chopped off the ground wire a couple times. Pretty bad job. So I think did anyone solder here? No, doesn't. I don't think so. There you go. So sometimes what I do with these curly wires is I'll take it to the wire stripper just to straighten it out. So that works well. And we'll start with the ground. So what I did was, this is a Stinger, you know, multi-stranded, I forgot what they called it. But it has all the speaker wire inputs, or speaker wire wires, but it's missing ground and power and accessory. So what I did was I took speaker wire, just because it's also better gauge as well. I should cut this off, this piece of plastic. So, you know, the one with the writing I know is for ground. This one will be for constant, and this will be for accessory. So the problem with these monster cables is they sometimes have this plastic here. And I understand that this is a speaker wire, and it's probably not meant to be used for any type of soldering. But off you go. And just double check. Does this guy have it, or did I cut it off? Nope, still here. Okay, so that's just my bad for not cutting it off. Okay, so that's accessory, constant, and ground. So what I'll do, so I'll wire this up, and at any point, oops, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to put heat shrink. I think this one works well. For this larger. And at any point in time, if I need to make any adjustments, it's fairly easy to do. For example, if I have another video unit that requires it to be grounded, I can go back and add it. That's not a big deal. And what I'm specifically referring to is this green wire. That's usually to, you know, as a handbrake bypass. And you know, I'm careful enough not to watch videos while driving. Or am I? Okay. So normally I have a pen to apply the rosin, but I don't have that right now. So I must have fallen out. So I guess since I'm already here, I'm not going to move around. I am just going to use a probe and clean that off with a paper towel. I'm not going to go too crazy with the amount of soldering, but it's basically just to ensure that, you know, it's not gonna come off. All right. So you might not see a ton of solder used, but it should be ample for the amount of hold that it needs to do. Alright. Now if I could just prop this up. There we go. Where's my solder now? Here. Okay, so that's all I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna go crazy with the whole thing. Okay. And over you go. And I'll go over each of these with some tape later. Alright, so that's that. Now let's do constant. So I don't know what this is. It's hooked onto the accessory, but constant looks like a mess. So let's get this out of here. And obviously if I was in a rush, I'd probably just cut everything off, but I don't want to hack this off too much. I don't have a whole lot of factory wiring left. Look at this tape job. It's pretty bad. So I guess just a bit of a background. I used to do car audio install in the early 2000s. I was certified for MECP for basic and first class in 2001. And you know, I pursued it just mainly as a hobby. It wasn't meant to be a career move. So I did work at the local electronics shop doing installations. Here in Canada, there was a company called Future Shop, which was ultimately bought out by Best Buy. So I worked there for from 2001 until 2003. And then changed to Best Buy, so I switched over to Best Buy and worked until 2008. Okay, so let's just do a double check on constant. Wipe this off. So I'll set the voltage. And oh, where's my other probe? Here. So if you can see here, I'll try to prop this up. Ground, I should be able to just ground this anywhere. Maybe through here. And there it's showing 12.8, so my battery is pretty decent. Okay, so that's confirmed. Constant. Okay, so I have constant here. Right, just double check, yep. And then this is the accessory. So what I like to do is, because I set the length at this guy, the ground, I'll just give this a tug just so that my wires are all the same length. Okay. And add a little bit of paste. So I'll take this post probe again. That's good. Okay. Oh, and you know what? I did it again. I totally forgot to do the heat shrink. Such an idiot. But I'm not going to worry about it. Let's tape it up. So just be careful when it's still hot, because I just soldered it. But I'll take a piece off and give it a good wrap. Alright, there we go, taped. Nothing to worry about. Okay, so next is this. Thing is, I'm not even sure what this is wired to. It's going to an antenna, and it seems to be connected to the antenna. Might be a powered antenna. So I could probably hook that back the same way, because we know the radio works. So, and I think the powered antenna might be needed in this vehicle because the original motorized antenna has been removed from the vehicle. Okay. So that being said, I'll just hook that up again. Okay, so that will be for the accessory. Okay, and obviously if I need to remove this at a future time, not a big deal. I'm going to desolder it or just cut it off. And this time, I'll try to remember, will this fit? Oh, it's a tight fit. You know what, I'll go with something a little larger. Is this even bigger? Okay, not really. This is tight. I'm just going to take this off. Maybe I'll just tape this one too. And let's straighten this guy out. This is the dirty one. It's all this tape residue. Okay, so that just straightens it out. So when you guys wire up, let me know in the comments what you guys prefer. Do you guys ever chop the harnesses off? Do you guys typically just use a factory harness adapter? What would you guys do in a case like this when someone has previously removed and cut off the factory harness? Because, you know, I can see the pros. Maybe you don't want to bypass, or sorry, maybe you don't want a cheap connector to be your main connection point, and you just want to wire it straight up to the source. Whereas for me, I like to keep things OEM. That's just me. And I guess if you're going with any level of competition, perhaps you might do something differently. So let me know in the comments what you guys prefer to do. I'm definitely not a competitor by any means. Okay, that's good. And tape. So when there's double wires, it's still hot. What I like to do is I tape it from the double wire side. So what I'm gonna do here is I'll just tape it straight up. And the reason I do that is to prevent it from unraveling. And it tends to unravel from the double wire side, if that makes any sense. So since I taped that up, I like to tape it from left to right. I'll just work in that direction. All right. So that's done. Now we have the wires. So I'll start with left speakers. Okay, left is white. Then you have the gray, which is your right, front right. Oh, this cable's kind of messy. And then you have left and right rears. Oh, this is that's a remote. So I'm not going to use this because that's for the power antenna. And like I said earlier, there's no power antenna, so I'm just going to leave that. So we'll go with the whites. Let's take this off. Okay, so that was negative. And currently I don't have the wiring diagram, so I'm just going to have to entrust that positive and negative is correct in this case. And in future, I can test it a little bit later on. When I take out the speakers, I can check for polarity. So I'm not going to worry about it right now. And here we'll see with the factory wires, factory speaker wires, they're always twisted together. So that's a good indication of, you know, what the speakers are versus the power. Okay, so that's negative. So what I'll do is I'll hook up a negative, and this time I remembered. Should I put it on this side? Just a little bit more space. It's pretty tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this. Because if it's too close to the soldering point, it's just going to shrink and melt on me. So I'm going to do half and half, just in case. And hopefully these are just as long as the power wires that I just hooked up, because I like to keep this relatively straight. And yeah, there's ample room. It's not perfect. It seems like the power wires are just a slight bit longer to keep everything nice and taut, but it's good enough. You know, everything's going to be bundled later. Okay. Okay, so you can see it already started to shrink just as I pulled it over because it's quite hot. And since I have a little bit of extra here, I'll just go over top of this end and give it a little bit of a seal. There we go. And we'll go to front left positive. And I apologize, this might be a little bit of a longer video than usual, so feel free to skip this to the end. I'm just going to be doing the same thing. Get this straightened a little bit. I could make this one a bit tighter. And then pull you out a bit. So just excuse my sloppiness, I haven't done this in a while, to be honest. After I finished Future Shop or Best Buy in 2008, I was working full-time doing, you know, a regular career job, nothing as exciting as car audio. So this just remained as a hobby, and since then, you know, life happened. I didn't have a chance to do as much car audio as I had wanted. So I figured now with this, I might have a little bit of a opportunity to do something interesting. Let's put some mini discs in this car. And it's an older vehicle, so I find that it's a little bit more forgiving in retrofitting stereos. With my other vehicle, you know, there's a whole 12-inch display. It's integrated with HVAC and all this other stuff. So, yeah, not that easy, not that install friendly for aftermarket stereo. That should be good. Okay, so slightly different length. I won't let that bother me too much. Everything is kind of wonky right now. Let's see if I can kind of clean that up. But anyways, here is the right, so we'll do right negative first. Okay, let me just separate this a little bit. Honestly, whoever did the install previously just didn't do a very good job. So, I don't think I mentioned earlier, but when I got this car, I had to take out some of the wiring, and I realized that there was a bundle of wires underneath the passenger side over there. So what had happened was, you know, I decided, okay, you know, I'm just gonna remove these wires because the stereo wasn't working at the time. And wow, I discovered a rat's nest. Not literally, just a bundle of wires that was just so horribly organized. They were literally wires going all sorts of directions. There's enough wiring for 2 non-working systems. It was so frustrating. There was a changer cables that I don't know what it belonged to because there was no changer in the vehicle. Amp wiring that wasn't going to the amps that were installed in the vehicle at the time. So yeah, it was quite the nightmare. It must have been about 30 pounds of wiring that I removed for a non-working system. There's enough for 2 systems, so something to do with the changer and something to do with amplifiers. Yeah, it was a mess. So here I am, I'm trying to clean things up. There are still speaker wires for some reason going to each door, and that might be for the power door locks, like the door actuators, but I'll have to check that out later because it's not attached to the speakers currently. That's for sure, because obviously we just heard it was working with the factory wiring. Not a crazy lot of solder on this one, but this one will hold. I'll do the same as before. Side looks a little loose. This one shrunk a little bit too much, so I'm gonna have to tape over that just to be on the safe side. Okay, now for right positive. Yeah, the wires aren't lining up as well as I had hoped, but it's okay. I'll just be taping this up. Eventually I'll probably get some split loom to cover everything, but I don't have that here with me today, so that's something for another day. Oops. Okay. Oh, this one won't go over. Okay, so I'll just go as far as I can, shrink it, and tape. That didn't work out as well as I had hoped, but no worries. And normally when I worked at Future Shop and Best Buy, we wouldn't even go this far. We wouldn't solder anything. For the most part, with Future Shop, it was twist and tape for all the harnesses. We never cut off the original harness. And then for Best Buy, it was crimping. Crimping was the norm for Best Buy, at least in Canada. So I didn't really like that. It was a type of crimp that you know, you put the two wires together, you know, what would be a good example? You would put two wires like this, and then you would twist them together, and then you would put this little cap over top and crimp it. And what I hated about it was that now you have these wires that went back and forth, and in the end you had this V-shaped, you know, assembly with all these plastic caps, and it was like this big bundle, and honestly it didn't fit very well, you know, behind the dash. You would have vehicles like a Volkswagen Beetle, the new Beetle, and a lot of Volkswagens, they were very tight behind the dash. A lot of Golfs, Jettas, there really wasn't a whole lot of room, especially with the factory harness adapter, to just shove everything back there. So, you know, I hated it. I was written up several times for using the twist and tape method while I was Best Buy to save room. So that was kind of their policy, which was, in my opinion, really weird. I didn't think that it was a very good connection. It was acceptable, just not a very good connection, and it just took up way too much space. At Future Shop, the standard was the straight butt connectors, so it would be two wires going like this into, you know, a crimp, and then you would crimp it twice. It would keep everything nice and straight, obviously, but you know, I wasn't a huge fan of that either. Okay. So if I didn't do the butt connectors, just the basic twist and tape was still acceptable. It did a number on my fingertips, but I much preferred that over using a butt connector. For whatever reason, you know, I found over time butt connectors can fail more than twist and tape. And I know everybody does their twist and tape a slight bit differently. But, you know, whatever works for you and whatever holds over time, right? Who am I to criticize your method if it's worked for you? Oops. I don't know what's going on here. Something's binding. There we go. Alright, then green, positive. Let's do this. I'll try to hurry this up a bit. I don't want to take up too much of your time. And if you guys haven't yet, please subscribe, like, comment. Obviously I don't have enough to monetize, but it's just cool to see and have interaction on this channel. Okay, sorry about that. Interrupted by the wife. So let's just continue with this. So this one was stripped extra long, so I'm probably going to have to do some taping. Okay. Let's see if I can cover as much as I can. It's catching on some wiring that wasn't twisted too tight. Okay, there we go. Overlap. We're good.
Then we can smoke one.
I still not smoke.
Okay, then we smoke one now. There, where are those 3 ones?
On the back.
There?
In the bag, yeah.
Oh, so okay.
There's 3.
Oh, the good ones. Let's go.
Yes.
Smoke that one.
Remember you gave me 3 pieces.
I finished those. I have somebody to
Take
do.
all this one.
No, no, just we smoke one. We smoke one. Thank you. Fine. You said. You and I both are dead men. No, 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 no. Smoke. No, don't.
Let's double check. This is the negative.
Aruba we have to go. Aruba I would like to go.
So our neighborhood is a little bit noisy right now. Weather's pretty nice, everybody's out. Just a little bit of a piece here. I'm just gonna trim this. There was a lot stripped on this one too, so hopefully I'll have enough heat shrink to cover it all. Hopefully you guys can post in the comments any of you guys worked at a Future Shop or a Best Buy. Let me know. Let me know. Be nice to see who has worked alongside. What your experiences were like. Hopefully they're all good. Okay, last one. This one's a dimmer. I typically don't install dimmers because I don't like it, you know, changing. I like full brightness during the day and night. So I'm not going to hook that one up. I'll just tape that up. Alright, sorry about that. The battery had just died. So let's get this finished off. good. This one's catching again, my bad twisting job. There we go. Okay, so last one's dimmer. Dimmer will show a 12 volt when the lights are turned on. I typically don't drive this car at night, but you know what? I should still tape it up. Alright, so that's the old harness. Not gonna worry about you anymore. Because I don't use a dimmer, and for safety, I'm just gonna snip that. And you know what, I'll just put a heat shrink on the end. It's a little bit neater than the tape. So I'll leave a little bit on the end so it just shrinks on itself. Oops. And I'll trim that off. Okay. There we go. So that's should be good as it is. Alright, so that being said, I am going to tape this up so it's a nice neat little bundle. You know what, I'll tape this off. This might be factory tape, so I'll just leave that. Yeah, you know what, I'll just tape like a little strip. Okay, like that. And let's give one of these units a test. So those are Japanese units. What I'm gonna do is, yeah, I guess we'll just try it out. I don't know if this harness is set up properly, but it should be. Oh, Japanese radio won't work, so oh, this needs to be flipped out. Like that. Alright. I'm not going to plug it in all the way, but let's give this a try. Here we are. Alright, so I can't remember how to use this. Source? MiniDisc? No disc. Which one is eject? Open. So this one's pretty cool. Supports MDLP, MiniDisc, DVD, MP3, like memory stick, stuff like that. So, where's my MiniDisc? This is one of the MiniDiscs I made when I first started getting back into it. So hopefully this doesn't get flagged by YouTube. Pretty neat. It's got different tracks. hope you guys can hear this. Let me turn up the volume.
세상에서 제
Sounds alright. I don't know what speakers are in here.
You know who it is. Come around again. You want a dose of this right now.
That's cool. So then I got the next. Okay, so I'll just stop this. I don't know what that means. Eject. Eject. Thank you. Close. Alright, I'll turn that off. So that's cool. This one worked well. That was a heavy one. Alright, let me clean this up and I'll bring back another unit to test. Okay, so I cleaned things up a tiny bit. Okay, so we tried that unit, so let's give this one a try. This one uses this plug. Okay, and because this one's also a Japanese unit, antenna's not going to work, so I'm not going to try, but oops, sorry, let me just readjust this. Let's put this in. Okay, it's on. No navigation. What are you doing? Come on. Alright, cool. So again, this one does support a lot of those things. MD-LP, Dolby Digital DTS, is it? Oh, just DTS. Okay, so insert. Pretty cool. List.
어른들보다 바빠 이 어린이의 하루 해가 너무 짧아.
Well, these ones will be flagged. Yeah, so everything works great. Okay, I'll eject. This is a pretty nice unit. I like this one. Alright, so before I change, turn that off, unplug. Now these two units are a little bit older. And if you saw my other videos, the reason I purchased these is because it supports the changer that I needed. So that's the, I don't know what this is, GA2 series of units. So I got this because I managed to find the Gathers, oops, it is this plug this time, the Gathers changer, factory changer. And I really needed a head unit to get it going. Okay, so I think this one is pretty straightforward, nothing special to load. This title. Yeah, they all sound pretty good. Much better than that previous unit. So, you know, some of it is based on connections, connection quality.
You know who it is. Come and run again. You wanna do this right now? It's I'm gonna spin a blaze.
Cool. Well, I don't want to get flagged. Hopefully it won't. So I'm gonna shut this one off. But everything seems to sound pretty good so far. We went through this harness, we went through this harness. I unfortunately don't have any radios that use the oldest harness. Oh, so I'll just put this one here. And last one. Well, at least last one for today. Okay. This is actually one of my favorite units. It's a very straightforward looking head unit. So you'll see. So it's the blue one still. Okay. Let's just switch that over. I like the knob too. And display. This title, track title.
Yeah.
Solid. Oh, someone has the hammer now, huh? So this one has a pause, which is great. And then there's other features. I don't know too much about this, EQ adjustment, stuff like that. This one actually records to, I believe, a hard drive. I've never tried it, but that's a pretty cool feature. don't know if I'll ever use it, but yeah. Anyways, so I'll have this hooked up for you guys with a changer at some point, and I'll do another video. But that's that. Thanks for watching. If you can, like and subscribe. Ooh. Hopefully I'll have another older gathers unit to show you guys, and we can plug this harness in. But that's cool. Everything worked. We had the 4 head units. Well, in the 5th one, that was a piece of crap. But everything works. I'll tie it up with some test tape, and we're good to go. All right, thanks for watching.